Wang. All right, let's get it started with last night's thriller. And boy, was it a thriller, because everybody was dying and dying and living again. Lamar Jackson had over 300 total yards last night, including the touchdown pass. Remember that, Acho, when we start arguing. But the former MVP also fumbled, not once, but twice, including a huge one in overtime that helped set up the game-winning touchdown by the Raiders. Lamar was asked about it after the game. Take a listen.
You had 2 fumbles, which are a little unusual.
Yep.
How much effect do you think that?
That tipped me off. You know, I hate fumble. I hate any type of turnover. But the first one that tipped me off, because we had them right. It was right down there. You know, they little punch zone. They could have scored right then and there. That tipped me off. Then the last one, just 2 hands on the ball. Try to have 2 hands on the ball. Could have just took a sack if anything, but it happens. Football.
So, Acho, don't tick me off. You worried about Lamar Jackson? Calm down now. Calm down.
Yes and no.
Yes. Let's start with the no.
Let's start with the no.
Yes.
The reason I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson is because it appears his receivers are going to do some good for him this year.
Bingo.
Hollywood Brown, first-round pick from 2 years ago. Not last year, but the year prior. He showed up. Shout out to Hollywood Brown.
There it is.
Sammy Watkins had some highs and some lows in his NFL career, had some health issues. He showed up. Rashad Bateman did not even play, and they didn't get much from Devin Duvernay at the wide receiver position. Obviously, on special teams, he did his thing. For that reason, I'm not too worried. Other reason, Lamar Jackson, he's lost so many running backs. We thought he was going to have to do it himself. He might eventually, but I, as a linebacker, watching the game with a defensive eye, I saw some things from Murray. I saw some things from Latavius Murray that were encouraging in my eyes. I was like, you know what? Give him a couple weeks. I think he will be okay. The greatest reason I'm not worried, Lamar Jackson from the pass game. 235 yards passing does not seem like a lot, but remember, that's the 3rd most passing yards Lamar Jackson would have had in his last 17 games. Last year, he only eclipsed 235 twice all season long. He did that opening night. So it appeared that the Ravens are making a more concerted effort in Lamar Jackson's passing game. It appears they're making a more concerted effort to find his receivers downfield. You saw that ball to Sammy Watkins he threw. You saw finding Hollywood Brown in the end zone on a scramble play. A couple years back, I don't know if Hollywood Brown would have been able to figure out how to get open, and Lamar Jackson would have found him. Eventually, him and Mark Andrews will click even better, so I'm not worried about that.
Let's go.
For all of those reasons, I am not worried about Lamar Jackson. But boy, Sal.
Boy, you got a big butt. That butt is
yes,
huge.
That one is, I'm not going to get fired, so I will not make any announcements.
Peaches.
But, yes, that one is a big, large, all caps, but 100% injury ratio in the National Football League. All of last year in September, Marcellus was telling me, well, Acho, Dak Prescott ain't never got hurt, so your 100% injury ratio statistic can't be accurate.
Remember that? That was early in our show.
And then Dak Prescott, unfortunately, got hurt.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson, so many people would say, and they would be accurate in saying, he's never missed a game due to injury. But we remember the end of last season, the Bills game, he got concussed. If the Ravens would have won that game, Lamar Jackson probably would have been doubtful the next week. So he actually left that game due to injury in the playoffs, maybe one of the biggest games of Lamar Jackson's career. Why am I concerned? Because my dog took 12 hits yesterday rushing the ball intentionally. Then he took 3 sacks yesterday while trying to pass the ball. Keep in mind, y'all, Lamar Jackson's only 6'2", 210. I'm going to save a lot more of that for my next lap. Keep y'all dialed in. But I'm not concerned. There is that big but, though, I'm going to get into later.
Okay. I'm glad you had a balanced approach, because I just thought you were going to come in hot one-sided and we were going to argue up. That's why I wore my suit, this color. We aren't going to argue here. Am I worried about Lamar Jackson? No. Am I slightly concerned? Yeah. Because I've been here before. And I've been here on the side of the predator, not the prey. A lot of people don't know who Ted Cottrell is. Ted Cottrell is one of the best defensive minds that football's ever seen. Ted Cottrell was Wade Phillips's defensive coordinator when Wade Phillips was a head coach. He was my coach in Buffalo. Ted Cottrell gave it to you real, gave it to you raw, and he gave it to you in a brilliant way. One thing he used to say is the memo's out. And I was like, what is the memo is out? And he used to say this about players, certain players, because I played in the era of Barry Sanders and cats like that, where it was like, you ain't going to stop them. But it's time to send a message. So every time you can get your hands on him, put some hands on him. We're talking about oomph. We're talking about to the echo of the whistle. We're talking about we're going to make him feel it. So next time he goes around, he's going to think about it. The memo's out on you, Lamar Jackson, brother. Watch out. They shooting. major. Look, Lamar Jackson's getting hit like, we know that you are a special threat. We know that you are X factor. So now you're starting to see them tee off on Lamar Jackson. And it's not just in the intensity of hit. It's also intensifying how many times they're hitting him and quantity. You brought that up. Let me add some context to this. There were 13 pressures from one player by the name of Max Crosby. And now Max is a beast to me. I like him. He's a little old school if we want to go Jared Allen in the sense, but a little more octane than even my boy Jared Allen, who was a monster, future Hall of Famer. 13 pressures from him. Let me give you some context in two ways. One, he had the most pressures of any defensive lineman last week. That includes T.J. Watt, who just got all that money, who balled out. And it also includes Chandler Jones, who just had 5 sacks. Wait a minute. I know pressures is not the most interesting of statistics, but that means you got to the quarterback more so than anybody else in the NFL last week. But he didn't get the sacks. You know why? Because that's the gift and the curse of Lamar Jackson. He's so special. You could get here, but you ain't going to get here. I love that about Lamar Jackson. But let me give you context in a different. Super Bowl kept telling me about Patrick Mahomes and giving them excuses, giving them passes, giving them a nice mattress to lie on because he was getting pressured. His offensive line was hurt. Oh, my God. Do you know the pressure rate in the Super Bowl for Patrick Mahomes, was 52%? Do you know what it was last night for Lamar Jackson? 54%. He took more heat last night. You didn't see it. You didn't feel the effect because Lamar Jackson's that special. He took more heat last night than we saw Patrick Mahomes do in the Super Bowl. What am I worried about? Nothing. What am I slightly concerned about? These dudes are getting here. It's taking special abilities of Lamar Jackson to escape. And more so, when they do get him the few times, boy, they putting hands on him.
Yeah, let's go even deeper. Because, y'all, in football, there's a difference between making a tackle and hitting somebody.
Let's go. Let's go.
Again, I talk about it. My senior year, I was playing in college, playing against Colin Klein. He ends up being a Heisman finalist for Kansas State. He was our quarterback. Senior night, I wasn't trying to make tackles. Nobody on our defense was trying to make tackles. We were trying to hit him en route to making a tackle. Because we knew if you cut off a head, the body dies.
It's gone.
And Lamar Jackson is the head to the Baltimore Ravens. Kansas State, Colin Klein, he was the head to the Kansas State Wildcats. And we knew at that time, if we can take him out, you can take everybody out. So when you go to make that tackle, it's not about making a tackle. It's about hitting him and making sure that he feels it. Because just like in boxing, it's not the first body shot that knocks him out. It's the aggregation of punches and eventually
Tap.
they tap.
Gotta go.
You're exactly right in talking about defenders now look like they're not just trying to make tackles. They're trying to hit Lamar Jackson. Early on in his career, 18, 19, 20, it's just like, hey, just get him down. Defensive coordinator, I don't care, just get him down. Get him down.
Right.
Now it's like, hey, make sure he feels it. Make sure you push on Lamar Jackson as you stand up on top of the pile. So we also have to talk about it like this. Lamar Jackson, postseason and regular season, has 520 carries. The next closest quarterback is Josh Allen with 308. Lamar Jackson has 212 more carries than the next closest at the position. What that is roughly is 3.5 more football games of hits. Not just Lamar Jackson playing 3.5 more games. On average, 60 plays per game. So 60, 120, 180 to 212.
Texas.
You're talking about 3.5 more games of Lamar Jackson just getting hit. Imagine Lamar played 3 straight games just taking hits. That is what he has experienced in his career more than Josh Allen. Keep in mind, Josh Allen, 6'4.5", 245. Lamar Jackson, 6'2", 210. Y'all do the math. So I'm worried because we haven't seen Lamar Jackson get hurt up to this point. But just like I think it may have been the great Babe Ruth who said, man, my next strikeout only brings me to my next home run. Lamar Jackson's next injury-free game, in theory, is only bringing him closer to getting injured, particularly when you're running the ball this much. So I love that they're trying to take the approach to air it out. Keep doing that, because I think now Lamar Jackson's becoming more lethal with his arm, and that will help in the long term. But you can't watch that game last night where he fumbles twice en route to putting the game away and not be concerned or worried at all.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not going to be worried because sometimes it doesn't add up. Like the most talented quarterback ever is not the best quarterback ever. It doesn't add up, right? Sometimes you look at a guy and you can give his physics, you can give his measurables, but it doesn't add up. He's not injury prone. Let's look at Warwick Dunn, might I add. Another guy that people don't know him, but my boy, Dennis Northcutt, played 10+ years in the league, never injured. Never injured. Like no surgeries, nothing. Little as hell. Work done, 5'9", 180. Ever injured?